So today we are going to talk about following the light. And that's usually what we're doing whenever we're painting. We are just, painting whatever is reflecting on a surface. And so this will be a clear vase, and I regularly get asked, how to paint glass. And you don't paint the glass itself. Everything we paint, we are painting just areas of color. And so I'm trying to find, at first I don't draw a lot, so I just try to find the big shapes. So that's what I'm doing right now. Is finding the big shapes where my two roses are going to sit, and roundabout where the shapes of the vases are going to, that vase is going to be found. But some of those areas are going to be blurred out. Now, I said whenever you're painting or drawing, you are, mostly painting, you're trying to find those big areas first. I'm not worried about any details right now. I'm just trying to find my darkest areas. And these are kind of, they're kind of peachy roses, but the center is very, very like hot pink. It's got a little bit of yellow around that center. On roses, that's where you find the most concentration, is where all those petals connect. That concentration of color. So I said, right now, I don't wait for, I'm not trying details. I'm waiting for that at the end. And usually my highlights, I wait, I find whenever I get my darks first, then I can come in and put those highlights in. A lot of people don't do white until the very end, because it tends to muddy up your colors, and it's hard to get really good saturation whenever you have white in there. So in my dark vase, now all there is inside this vase that you can see through the glass is a couple leaves towards the top, and I usually leave those there. And floral arrangements, you don't do that. You don't leave leaves inside your water, because it makes your water go bad faster. So, but on here, I like the effect. And it kind of darkens that area. So all you can see is the two stems from each of the roses, and then you can see the dark area of where that leaf is. Now, the other thing I wish I would have done is just painted the background first before I started on the vase, so that you can see why I'm doing what I'm doing. But if you look at old paintings, I don't know if it's that they like the effect of the hazy glass, or their glass was hazy, or the fact that they didn't have access to, as clear water as we do. Or maybe they're, if you leave that water there for too long, it tends to get hazy, but I like that effect. Normally you won't want it. You'd want to empty that out and put clean water in, so that your flowers stay fresher longer. But I really like the effect. So at any rate, it's hard to see the details within the glass. And the reason I like that is because sometimes whenever you see through glass, it tends to exaggerate the sharpness of the objects. And it makes it look very like hyper realistic. And although I love it in other people's work, I like the old world look, and where things look, the edges are blurred, and the colors tend to be more muted. So now that we're adding that dark color, we're trying to I'm trying to decide where my table sits and that background starts. So you can see whatever color of your table is, you're going to have, that's going to show up through the bottom of your vase. And then whatever's in the background, you're going to see that more towards the top of your vase. Now, of course, it depends on the angle that you're looking at. You know, if I'm looking from at the very, very top of the vase and you don't see the background, then all you're going to see is that table. However, remember you're painting reflections, and so when it comes to glass, it's going to reflect everything around it and in it. So if there's something red that's sitting in front of it, that's going to be reflected on the glass somehow, or could be. That the background or the color of your walls are going to be reflected on the vase. The whatever's on the table or the table itself, the tablecloth is going to be reflected on that vase. So all this is affected. So you're paying attention to all these different colors. You're not paying attention to the shape of the vase. So when the light hits, in this case, it is hitting from the top left hand side. So on the top hand left side, on the top left hand side, you're going to have your lightest area. And so that's what we call the highlight. But that highlight, sometimes you'll see that it'll blur out, and it blurs out into different colors. If it's really bright, it'll be more golden. But if it's a little bit more subdued, then it'll have more of a turquoisey or bluish color. And so that it tones it down a little bit. But the edges are a little blurred sometimes, or a lot of times. So now I'm trying to find that cast shadow. And that's where that dark areas of the vase are cast on the table, opposite of where the light is coming from. Now, generally, like I said, my light is coming from the top left-hand side, so that'll be my brightest area. However, it's going to bounce opposite in that vase. So opposite of that is the bottom right-hand side. And so you'll see that side a little bit lighter. This happens on eyes too, when you paint an eye, because an eye is kind of clear outside of the pupil. And so you'll see that light, that highlight at the top side, and then it bounce on the bottom. And so it makes that, if your eyes are brown, it'll give it that golden color at the bottom opposite of that highlight. So the same thing is happening here. Now, that light, we're trying to follow it. So it sits at the top left-hand side, bounces at the bottom opposite of it, and then it's going to hit onto that cast table, or that in the middle of that cast shadow on the table. And so you'll see that towards, once I start getting into that part. This is where the water and the edge of the water is shown through the glass. Now it's a little too bright here. It'll need to be toned down later on. So now I'm just trying to find those reflections that kind of, oh, that's what I was talking about, how you see the light inside the bottom corner of the vase. That light is pushing light through that vase, and it's bouncing on that table. And I love that glow that sits, especially sitting in the midst of your, or even adjacent to your cast shadow. Now, I'm not putting all the different details in it because I don't care for any of it. I just want to give people the idea of that those shapes and those lights, those reflections. So I hope this helps. There's the couple more minutes left, so I hope that you'll enjoy, and I hope that you'll share and comment if you have any questions. Thank you so much for watching.